Right, everybody, we're back. I'm Jaffer Batika.
I'm Brendan Weiscott.
And we are looking at the final table of the 2014 Android Netrunner World Championships.
Super exciting.
Yeah, so this is Dan Dargenio versus Minh Tran, and this is a rematch.
It is. We saw this a couple rounds ago.
Yep.
However, things are switched up. Previous Dan was running his corp deck, and Minh was runner. Now it's switched up. So Minh is corp, and Dan is runner. Minh is Jinteki Personal Evolution up. We're just getting the trophy and the World Champion playmat there, just to give him a little extra incentive.
Look at that playmat. You know, that's stakes are high. That is a fine playmat.
Yeah, that's the full cover of Order and Chaos.
It's punk rock.
So we did get word on the last match. Timmy did not res his ice because one was a Taurus, which wouldn't have stopped anything. And the other was Curtain Wall, which Minh had enough to break. So he just chose not to do anything.
Yeah, I think the move that Timmy might have wanted to make post-game, like once everything wrapped up, was to have cleared the virus tokens and just reset the medium. Not that it would have affected the outcome, just because he did pull the geothermal fracking right off the top of the deck.
Right.
But, I mean, it would have been the safer move.
It might have been, but at the same time, he was basically one turn away from winning. You know, he'd put the Curtain Wall down with only 4 credits on the other side of the table. You've got to, I don't know. Yeah, it's a tough decision.
Very tough.
At this point in the tournament, every decision you make is so critical. It's hard to give each one the weight it needs, because you're probably thinking too hard, or you feel like you're thinking too hard, and you don't want to burn yourself out.
Yeah, even so, congratulations to Timmy for playing as well as he did and for getting as far as he did.
Looks like both players are keeping, and we're going to start with Minh drawing a card.
See the nest of cameras surrounding that table there. Everybody wants to record this one for posterity.
Yeah, people with their phones, their GoPros, everything.
Mm-hmm.
All right, what do we got?
Well, it definitely feels like one for the ages. I mean, this is
Sweeps week right off the top.
This one is going to be Andromeda versus Personal Evolution, and then if they play again, it'd be Andromeda versus Replicating Perfection. So,
ooh, look at that hand.
Rules the final table.
That hand has 2 snares and 2 agendas. Minh messed up the math slightly. He had to pay the 1 for Sweeps week. He does not get 9 total credits. He gets 9 credits, but he has to pay 1 initially.
He got corrected there.
Yeah. Sweeps week against Shaman is pretty nice.
Yeah, oh yes, definitely. Especially on the first turn.
Yeah. We got a fairy right away.
And why not, right? It means a safe run, pretty much anywhere.
Dirty laundry on R&D because it's open, and you might as well get some money.
Sees the Komainu.
Flipped his Dan's clicks for him. There's Andromeda, another fairy. Not Andromeda, sorry, Desperado, which comes out. Another fairy. Emergency shutdown. R&D interface. A second Desperado. And another Dirty Laundry, I think.
So we got 1 click left, so what does he do?
I think he makes another Dirty Laundry run.
Dirty Laundry run on Archives.
Yeah. Get that money, get a card out of your hand, so you don't have to discard.
Yeah. With an extra credit from Desperado.
Yep. Komaino goes into his hand. So we've got a bunch of snares in here, plus Feudal AI, and I can't make out that second.
First click draw.
Mushin no Shin. So he doesn't have a lot of ice, but he does have protection in some form here.
Mm-hmm. Does he install the Komainu over R&D just to kind of tax him out?
Yeah, I think you do. You don't want to give the runner free access to R&D.
Yeah, I mean,
even if they don't have anything.
Technically, it's free with the fairy. It just costs 0 credits to get through all the subroutines on the Komainu, but it would force it out of play because he has to trash it. So
right, it's only free for 1 turn at that point.
Yeah. Dan
runs the new server.
Gains his Desperado credits. Does he choose to access?
He does.
And
it
is a Psychic Field.
Ah, that's what it is.
Game.
I'm still learning that art. And looks like Minh's taking a little more time. Minh wins. So Psychic Field, if the runner exposes or accesses Psychic Field while installed, you and the runner secretly spend 0, 1, or 2 credits, reveal spent credits. If you and the runner spend a different number of credits, do 1 damage for each card in the runner's grip, which means Min gets to wipe the hand, I believe?
Yep.
And then he just spent the rest of his turn drawing up. That's pretty nice. Pretty nice play there. Ooh. Good thing he drew, because Min just drew a Neural MP. That would have been a very quick game if he had not drawn cards. But as always, of course, I think most players know to draw cards against Criminal when their hand empties out.
Kentucky, yeah.
Yeah, well, sorry. Yep. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
I spoke.
3 cards in hand against the snares. At least 1 card against the Neural EMP, which of which he has 2 in hand. So
yeah,
that's going to become very useful to him.
Yeah, I think he can keep those agendas in his hand for as long as he wants, because it's basically 50-50 shot between agenda and snare. And he'd be more than happy to have empty Dan's hand yet again, especially with that Neural MP making it 4 damage total. Obviously, he has to wait until his turn, but Dan's thinking hard. He's got 10 credits, so he's got options. Or sorry, Min's thinking hard.
Both.
Yep.
Both. He creates a new server
and protects
it. Puts some ice in front of it.
I did not see what he installed, though. I mean, he only had 1 piece of ice in hand, so...
Keeps his cards close to the table. Dan runs it.
Dan's not letting Min get away with anything. He's just running everything that happens. Yagara does a net damage.
Ooh, pulls the Mimic.
That's a pretty nice hit there. Oh, forgot to do it in order. He leaves the top card on R&D. Ooh, the nice pull by Dan. He got a quality time, and he immediately plays it and fills up his hand.
He also jacked out right after the Yagura, because he doesn't know what to expect. I mean, that could have been a snare that could have ended the game.
Yeah, that could have ended the game. And for all we know, it might have been, because we could not see what Min installed. So I see another fairy, R&D interface again. Yeah, plays the second one, why not? With all of this scary Jinteki stuff on the table. Gets rid of security testing.
Interesting that he gets rid of the security testing. I guess he's potentially worried about shocks in archives.
Ooh, that was a snare. That is a snare on the table. Yeah, I mean, it definitely seems like Min's deck is going to be one of those decks where you don't want to be running unless you're looking for an agenda. And I think Dan has realized that. And Min's thinking hard. He's got a Jackson, which it looks like he installs, immediately reses and uses. Whoa.
So there's the 3rd Neural EMP.
Second one. Second one, and then also a second Mushin no Shin.
I think maybe he's trying to just get the agendas out of his hand and just focus on the traps.
I'm not quite sure. I mean, he's got a really, really cool deck. I'm not quite sure what he intends to do with it. I think he can take it a couple different ways. I mean, with those Mushin no Shins in hand, he could also just install some things, let Dan think it's an agenda or a snare. Kind of play the mind games of Jinteki, of course. There's an account siphon, but he still hasn't tapped that piece of ice in front of HQ. He's got a Plascrete, which isn't going to help him much here. Min does mostly net damage. I don't think he's running any meat damage as far as I know.
Up, hits a snare.
Ooh.
Pays it.
Immediately pays it. Immediately gets 3 cards.
And a tag.
Ooh. And a tag, yes, which could be relevant. Hit R&D interface, but he did get to keep the account siphon. Immediately removes the tag. Draws a card. Looks like a second account siphon. Wow.
Yeah, but he does not know what that ice is in front of HQ. On the other hand, he does have 2 fairies. So, I mean, if it is a Komainu or similar, right, he can just get through it. Yeah.
Right. Should we round there real quick just to make sure he chose to trash the snare or not, which he chose to do so.
No reason not to.
I can't think of many instances where I'm happy leaving a snare where it is. Dan draws a Corroder. Got a Gila hand, sorry.
It's a nice economy card.
Yeah, if you can score it, it's a great card. You spend a click to get 2 credits, I believe.
Of course, in a Jinteki deck, it is just 1 point of damage if they steal it.
Yes, and I misspoke. It is actually, I believe, 2 clicks for 3 credits.
Yeah, that's correct.
Again, to those at home, it's been a long weekend here. You know, we might make a mistake or two. Apologize. Please roll with it. We often realize our mistakes or correct each other. So, looks like Minh installs another server and another what I believe is the snare. No, I'm not quite sure what he installed, but.
So we're running a very horizontal deck here, like just going sideways with those servers.
It's personal evolution, which doesn't always do that. But I think. Sorry, go ahead.
Nope. Account siphon. There it goes. Does he res?
There's 2 fairies on the table. He does. It's
Enigma.
Enigma.
That just ends the run.
And costs a click, too.
Yep.
But he still has another account siphon, so he can prepare for it. And then
yeah, but he's going to need his Yogg or Passport or whatever he's playing. What is he playing in terms of decoders? He is playing both Yogg and Passport. So.
Yep, either one will do here. He runs the Jackson Howard, forces Minh to use it. It looks like he chooses the snare.
And 2 mystery cards.
All right.
Snares go back in because you wanna keep the runner from getting any ideas about multi-access, I think.
That's definitely a reason not to trash a card. I mean, the corp can always install a new card in that server and trash it himself, but if you know what it is, it might be worth making the corp do that, forcing them to have the actual card to install on that server, so that way they can't shuffle it back in. On to Minh, he's got a hedge fund, always useful.
Nice to get his money back up there.
Yep.
Clicks for credits. There goes the hedge fund, 9 credits. So
1 click left.
Can now afford to res that ice.
And he just takes a 10th. Dan's thinking long and hard here. I mean, against Jinteki, you kind of have to. Draws a special order. Yeah, you kind of have to think, take your time with Jinteki, because you kind of have to think about why he put things where he did, when he put them there. All those things kind of come into play in terms of trying to figure out what it is. Sure gamble.
So now they both have a lot of money.
Yeah. Dan's just going to get a credit. Another psychic field for Minh.
Why that psychic field, right? When it works, right? When the side game flips in your favor, it's it's really brutal. Just
as we saw earlier.
Hand.
Yeah, and then he's just installing a bunch more things. Looks like he's playing the shell game. All he's got left is Mushin no Shins and Neural MPs. So the Yield of Hands is on the table. So 2 psychic fields are on the table, one of which Dan knows about. A snare is on the table, which Dan ran a long time ago, and then tried to. Oh, wow!
All right, so let's see where the side game goes here. If Minh is successful on the side game, he is going to blow up Dan's hand again. Of course, this is Dan's first click, so he can recover from it, but it is still a bummer getting shut down like that.
Dan's been very careful about only making his runs early in turn so he can draw back up.
Right. No, that is the correct play against Jinteki. Yep, there it goes again.
Minh's got it.
Yep, so clears out the hand.
2 special orders, Account Siphon and Corroder.
Yep.
Plashcrete. Oh, there's another Account Siphon right off the top. Desperado.
Yeah, he lost good cards and regained cards he didn't really need. I mean, didn't need the other Desperado. Can't really use the Account Siphon. Lost a Corroder, which is pretty tough. There it goes. Advances and scores the Heal Hands.
Did Dan get an extra credit there? He spent his last 3 credits drawing, but then it looked like he got an extra credit. And Sweeps Week, not as useful once you've emptied out your opponent's hand, but
as an early game economy card against Andromeda, priceless.
Yeah, we've got a House of Knives, so plays right into the shell game.
Yeah, plays right into just the sort of pinging kind of Jinteki deck that he's playing, right? Yagura only does 1 damage, but you know, if you've also got a scored House of Knives, hit you 1 more time, and then you never know what you're going to hit.
And with those 2 normal MPs sitting in hand, you know, he can do 3 damage easily. If he gets his 3rd neural MP or a 2nd House of Knives or something, you know, that's 3 or 4 damage, which it's kind of hard to protect against that when you're expecting a lot of damage from snares and other things like where you're running. So
he takes the credits from Gila Hands, goes back up to 9 credits, and is got a decent amount of money there. Also has a lot of unresed stuff on the table, which is Dan going to take his chances to find out what they are? He is. Yep. So there goes Enigma. Loses a click, which might almost be the bigger hit there. Just losing time against this deck.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I always love about Enigma. It came in the core set. It's been around forever, but it's just, he's going to inside job it. He thinks it's worth going after. What do we have? Yep, and he hit the House of Knives. Takes a short gamble out of his hand. Draws a card, which looks like legwork.
So that's worth 1 agenda point for Dan. Did also cost him a net damage there.
Yep. Yeah, but he was quick to draw. Use his last click to draw a card. He knows he needs to be careful against Minh. The score is 1-1. But
it's erroneously reporting it as 2-1 right now in Dan's favor.
We'll get that
fixed.
Yeah. It's these kinds of operations. It's not one person doing everything. So we need a lot of people to make it run as smoothly as it does, and so we always have to pass along the message.
Even so, though, the media team has been doing a great job keeping the coverage up all weekend.
Yeah, I mean, both of us are from events and OP, and this isn't necessarily our expertise, but it's added so much value to this event. And all you guys at home would not be able to be watching or listening to us if it weren't for them. So if you can, please give them a big thanks, because they've been great all weekend working with us and just helping players and bringing you all this coverage.
So didn't really see anything off the top of R&D except for an Eli, which having lost his corroder, he can't just pay past it. He's got to click past it if he wants to, and that is just a bummer. Especially if again, as we said before, Dan makes his runs early in his turn, to kind of absorb the effects of having to redraw or shake tags and things like that. And if you had to click past an Eli, I mean, that's just more time taken away from being able to recover from hits like Psychic Field and Snare.
Well, that's the beauty of these personal evolution decks, is it forces you to play one way, and then it uses cards to punish you for doing that. Enigma and Eli and things like that. So that's kind of the design of. You see different versions of the deck, but it's obviously this one plays more of a shell game. Other ones will play more central service and just create one scoring server, but. They force you into an avenue and then try and block that avenue, basically, or fill it with fire. In Jinteki's case. Do you see a passport and a Fem in Dan's hand? The Fem can help him get through that Eli if it ever comes down, or he might choose to use it on one of the Enigmas.
Or he could just use it on the Komainu and just bypass it for free.
That's true. Be very useful against the Komainu. Komainu is a great card, but so is Fem, and the Fem is definitely one of the counters to it. Dan looking through his discard. And
trying to see how many cards did he lose to the various net damage effects there. He's lost quite a bit.
Yeah, it looks like he threw a good chunk of his deck.
Lost his Mimic, lost his Corroder.
And I believe... I know the finals are usually untimed. I believe it pertains to this game, not just the next game if Minh were to win. So Minh definitely has an avenue to victory there of just dealing damage to Dan over and over again until he has no more cards to draw, and then just takes enough damage that he has no cards in hand. Another snare, wow.
He pays it.
Takes over half the hand. Sure gamble, Fem, and a count siphon.
There goes the Fem, too. Ooh. That was one of his best bets against the ice that's out there.
Yeah. And he just immediately spends his last 2 clicks to draw up again. Min's really just punishing Dan, just hitting him over. There's another snare. Wow. Just punishing Dan. You know, with the shell game, basically, you play out a bunch of traps. You play a couple agendas, usually 3 2s or 3 1s. In this case, it seems to be mostly 3 1s. And then if they run everything, yeah, they'll get a couple points. But, I mean, they take damage from that, from the ID ability, and they take damage anytime they hit a snare or a psychic field and whatnot. So it's really a kind of a punishing deck. You want to run on everything to keep them honest. Otherwise, they're just going to leave agendas there and then score them. But at the same time, you have to be very careful. You can't afford to constantly be losing your entire hand.
Yeah, and already Dan is through half his deck with quite a lot of his breaker suite already gone. I mean, that is a really tough position to be in.
Spends his first 2 clicks drawing cards, plays Passport, and passes the turn.
Well, the Passport is gonna get him back into HQ if he wants to start account siphoning or emergency shutdowning, or leg working. Oh, there goes another piece of ice over
Second
HQ.
Eli. So there's an Eli in front of HQ and R&D.
Yeah. So even though Eli is fairly porous, you can just click through. It is
He's
very
gonna test
taxing.
it. Yeah. I forgot his money. Judge reminded him. Hits the Eli.
Does he click through? All right,
He
clicks
chooses
through
to.
and then pays through the Enigma.
So he gets to see a card. He only has 1 click left. Gets a credit from Desperado.
We know that Min has a snare in hand. Does he draw it?
It's going to be... Ooh,
Mushin
just
Notion. It's hard without any multi-access. You know, he's really taking his chances with these HQ hits, but at the same time against Jinteki, multi-access just means, you know, you could hit 2 snares.
I mean, he does have legwork, so, you know, now that he knows what both pieces of ice are, he might choose to use that. But as you said, it increases the chance of hitting the snares as well, which looks like all 3 Mushin no Shins are in that hand.
Yeah, Min has not used any of the Mushin Notions.
Yeah, I'm a little surprised, but maybe he's waiting to save him, try and push Dan over the edge to run on something.
Now, over the course of the tournament, I've seen Min Mushin Notion a Ronin, and then just kind of leave it on the table.
Yeah,
that's a common play that I've seen him do. He hasn't drawn any Ronins yet, but maybe that's what he's looking for. Or, I mean, if he feels like he's put Dan in a tough enough position, he might Mushin Notion a snare just to force him to run it.
That's what I'm thinking, but it does look like he has 3 Ronins in the deck, so it's only a matter of time until he draws some. Looks like Dan's running HQ again. Min's more than happy to let him do so. He's all right. Must have hit something.
Well,
no penalty anyway.
Neural EMP, Mushin Notion. There's only the 1 snare in there.
Yeah, I mean, the more neural MPs he sees, the more cautious he's probably got to be. I mean, he's been very careful, especially the past couple turns. He's been at 4 or 5. Earlier, he was at 3 or 4.
True, and as thin as his deck is, he is probably hesitating installing stuff or playing stuff from his hand because he needs that, you know, to keep himself alive.
Yeah, I mean that's his health against Jinteki. That is his health. I mean, getting things on the board will certainly help him to get into servers, but it reduces his health total. Oh, there's the Mushin Notion.
Stalls, advances 3 times. If it was an agenda, he couldn't score it, but could be anything. Could be that Ronin.
It looks like whatever he drew, because he's still got 2 Mushin no Shins and 2 Neural MPs in his hand. Spends a click to draw, House of Knives. And Dan's going to test him. Dan seems to think that this is the only avenue to victory.
The
Ronin.
Well, if he didn't, you know, Min could have just advanced the Ronin,
Yep.
killed him with the Neural EMPs. So, yeah, had to run it. Which is unfortunate because it could also have just as easily been a June bug, and that would have killed him outright.
Yeah. I mean, even the snare would have put him in a tough position. It looks like he's only got a few cards left in his hand, in his deck. So.
Yeah, I mean, Min's personal evolution deck is an aggressive net damage deck, and it has done its job over the course of this game. I mean, I guess
really has
against very aggressive runners, which against Andromeda basically, like runners that will run everything. Like it, it can be very effective. Like runners won't always run the snare that you put down, but
got a data sucker of all things. Got a feudal AI. Min's hand. Checking the count of Dan's hand. Plays, I think, he plays the House of Knives and trashes whatever was behind that Enigma.
So unless Dan...
Mushin Hoshin's another card.
Unless Dan has an inside job, that House of Knives is pretty safe there. He does not have a breaker that can get past the Enigma.
And he's running the Mushin Hoshin. Is that the feudal AI? That's 3 net damage. If it is, it is.
It is.
Well, it's 2, and then if he chooses to steal it, which it looks like he's going to.
Yeah.
He spent the money right away.
But
he got the legwork, I think. Oh, no, he didn't. Got the security testing.
One more for stealing it. Yep.
There were 2 legworks, so he got one of them.
Punishing.
Oof. That deck is looking pretty small right now. Shattered Remains was drawn by Min, and he's going to score the House of Knives. That's going to help weaken his deck more.
So deal 1 net damage from the personal evolution ability, and now it has 3 tokens on it that can deal 1 net damage during a run.
Yep, you can use 1 token each for each run. Dan immediately draws up, keeps drawing cards. This deck's got a...
There goes the Yogg.
There's the Yogg. I bet he was looking for that.
Nothing, I just paid for something. Go.
All right, another feudal AI. This is interesting here. So now Min's got to start being careful. Dan's got 3 points. I mean, feudal AI could do 2 damage. House of Knives can do a 3rd damage. But that 4th damage from the personal evolution ability will not trigger until Dan has scored the agenda. And by that time, Dan will already win. So Min's got to be careful in terms of how he plays this. Dan's only got 3 points, so 1 feudal AI is not enough. But I will admit I cannot remember everything that is on the table.
No, but the feudal AI though, even if he steals it, I mean, even if it does deal 4 damage from the 2 damage from the feudal AI, 1 from the personal evolution ability, and 1 more from House of Knives. I mean, he's not got a lot of cards left in his deck, right?
No,
eventually, the Neural EMP could just close the gap.
Yeah, sure. I mean, he's still got 2 in his hand that. It looks like there's only like 3 cards in Dan's hand, so looks like he's running R&D or HQ?
HQ.
HQ, all right.
They're clicking through the Eli.
Clicking through the Eli and using Yogg.
MVP. Why not?
What's he going to hit? Rolls to find out. Does it? Neural MP. So we know for sure now that Dan knows about at least 1 Neural MP.
Yeah, just take a credit. No, I'm taking a new one. Go ahead.
He takes credit for his last click.
That's a fresh one. Still 5.
We have, is that a Bastion? No.
Boy, it has gotten dead quiet out there on the crowd.
Yeah.
We can hear it through our headphones. We've got to keep it down so that they can't hear us commentating.
Yeah, it's been a steady murmur for hours, and now all of a sudden it's just all those players, they're tense and wondering what's going to happen.
Yeah, it is coming down to the wire there.
All right. Goes through to the hand, and he sees a Mushin Hoshin. He draws another card. And it looks like he's down to only 2 cards in his deck, plus 5 in his hand. Another sweeps week. Yeah, why not? Let's get some money. He's been keeping 5 cards in his hand.
And then, uses Heal Hands for an additional 3 credits.
I think Min's just happy sitting here and letting Dan kill himself on runs. Used another House of Knives token. Takes out a legwork.
Ooh, that is a good card to take out.
Yeah, I think Dan hasn't been using his legworks. I think he's a little too scared. Oh, Neural Katana. I think he's a little too scared to hit multiple snares or multiple damage dealing cards in one.
I think so. And he saw the Neural Katana, which he can get through with the Fairy pretty easily, but just the once. And he's only got the one. He's not going to draw another one, so...
Yeah, he's got to make sure it's a good time to use it.
Yep.
Min's building another server, and then he's advancing a card. It's been so long, I don't remember what's in there. I want to say it's a feudal AI, because I remember him having a feudal AI long, long ago that disappeared. I can't remember if he discarded it and then shuffled it back in with Jackson, or if he played it there. Dan's taking some time and figuring out what to do.
Yeah, and of course, Min has a lot of money on the table, so he can res pretty much whatever is out there. I believe the outermost piece of ice is Neural Katana, which means if it is a Neural Katana and he has to use the fetal AI to get past it, he doesn't know what he's going to hit after that. If it's another damaging Sentry, that could be it. Also, the Yagura is not a threat because of Yogg at this point. So.
Yeah. Yeah, luckily for Dan, Yogg just cancels out the Yagura. But, I mean, there's still one token on the House of Knives, which matters.
Definitely matters.
And, I mean, one run is not going to win the game for Dan. He's only at 3 points. So the best he can do would be 6 points, which we don't. I don't think that's a 3-point agenda down there. But even if it were, he'd only go up to 6.
He could also just be double advancing, say, a heal of hands just to bluff him out.
Sure. Yeah, at this point, if I were Min, I'd just be trying to get him to make a run anywhere just to try and get those last couple cards. I think he only has 6 cards left between his hand and his deck. Yeah, he's making a run.
Got to try it. I think he has to try it.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, time's running out for him.
There goes the
Neural Katana. Uses the fairy.
Does he keep going?
Komainu. Oh.
No. He's jacking out.
I used the data second counter. So break a jack out.
Okay, so jacked out after the
Min got a little excited.
That would have done it, but no. That's walked back the play. I mean,
man.
Now Dan
Komainu hitting with all of the cards in his hand. He'd only have 1 card to draw. He'd be burned out by the
Well, he would have been killed. Because the House of Knives token would have finished him off.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, now he knows it's there. Unfortunately, like Min did kind of tip his hand there, so to speak. But
luckily, he's in a pretty good spot anyway.
Yeah, I mean, if it is actually an agenda, he can score it with impunity. I think.
All the clicks. Run on the last click. Yeah.
Dan's doing what many runners advise not to do, running on the last click. Uses the House of Knives token. Tried to figure out what he's going to take. Looks at that, and it's just an Eli.
Spent the turn looking for that.
I mean, even these runs that aren't producing anything, or not doing any damage, they still help out Min, because Dan's using resources to do this. He's using money and time and
cards.
And cards, yeah.
Look at how small his draw deck is there.
Yep.
Scores the fetal AI, which
another damage.
Yep.
Croter.
So that puts Min at 4 points, but that may not matter if he can just net damage Dan to death.
Running HQ. What's he got? Neural MP.
Drawn the very last card in his deck. I believe he has 4 cards in hand now.
And with the 2 Neural MPs, it's effectively 2. Philotic entanglement, that would end the game.
Yeah. And since he's used his fairy, he can't really get past that Neural MP without totally destroying his hand. And there's also
that Komainu also.
Yeah.
I'm fairly confident in saying Min is in a winner's position here. And Dan only has what's left in his hand.
Of course, he could just go to 0 cards in hand and walk through the Komainu. But if he did end up stealing the agenda, if there was indeed one there, which I believe there is, he would take the net damage that kills him.
Right, and as we discussed, it won't win him the game. If you were at 5 points or something, it might be worth taking that chance.
Right. Well, if it was if you were at 5 points and that were a 2-point agenda, he would steal the agenda and win the game before the PE ability goes off.
Right.
So.
And he might take that chance. I mean, at this point, things are looking grim. He might figure it's worth taking the chance to do it. But at 3 points, he's in a tough spot. I don't know what he can do to get out of this. He's running one of the secondary servers, remote servers, sorry.
Oh, fetal AI.
Wow.
He's got to steal it. He takes.
So he's got one card left in
his hand, and that is it.
Yeah, he's going to pass it. Yep. Wow. So we have another game. with Minh winning this game, now he and Dan both have a loss, which means they have to play one final game for the entire
Did you draw that one just then?
win. Wow.
So I missed
That
the
was a
ones.
great game.
Definitely was. I mean, it's these PE net damage mill decks. You really don't see them, and to have made it this far, to make it to the final table, that is impressive work on Minh's parts.
Right. I mean, you hear about them, people talk about them, people play them in smaller tournaments and stuff. But at these bigger tournaments, they always seem to disappear once you start, getting 3, 4, 5 rounds in.
Yeah.
And I think it really takes a especially skilled pilot to get this far with it.
Yeah, so much about personal evolution is timing, knowing when to play the traps, knowing when to play the neural EMPs and so on. And it's hard to know when. I mean, like there's a really terrific article on BGG, if you can look it up, about Jinteki. It was written quite a while ago, but it talked about how if you can get the runner to a match point situation, they just pretty much have to run on everything, and it looked like just leading up to that Minh had kind of got to that place early where Dan just had to run everything.
I think Dan showed that he had no hesitancy to run, and then Minh just kind of played into that. He's like, all right, well, I'm just going to start playing out a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, and then installing snares.
Yeah.
A lot of people will just hold snares in hand to defend HQ, but installing a snare, I mean, that's, if they don't run it, it's like you wasted it.
Right.
But no, the snares were not wasted in that game.
No, I mean, he hit 2, I think, that were installed.
Yes. Yeah.
He hit 1 out of hand, but I think the other 2 were installed. It's just a big play here. So the players are going to switch decks. Doesn't matter how many games they've played with each decks. In the final, once they've played once, if the player from the lower bracket wins the first game, the players always switch decks to play the other matchup. So we have Minh switching to Andromeda. And we have Dan switching to a replicating perfection deck.
Well, again, we mentioned this at Andromeda versus Jinteki, both sides here. And so this time Dan Dargenio is playing replicating perfection, and it's going to a different style of play, definitely a different style of play than personal evolution. More about just heavily taxing the runner, keeping them from running the remote servers.
Yeah, and this one also, most of the economy plays off of that. We have sundus and mental health clinics, all sorts of assets. Rather than traps, we have assets that are going to say, okay, well, if you want to get to these and stop my economy, you're going to have to run a central server, be punished by it, and then come over here, and then you have to pay more to get rid of this as well.
Right, and then the taxing agendas here. Now Dan is running Future Perfect, which you have to win the side game to steal if it's not installed. Nisei Mark II, which if you get it installed and scored, right, it has just a straight end the run token at any point during the run, and then NAPD contract. If you want to try to steal it, you also have to pay 4 credits for it. So that's these are difficult to steal agendas. Unlike in Minh's PE deck, Minh's agendas are fairly easy to steal, but do you want to?
Right, yeah, and he had lots of cheap agendas also, if you noticed, which played into the personal evolution ability, of course. He also has enhanced login protocol, which is going to make it harder for Minh to get at things. He's going to have to spend an extra click. Not only is he going to have to run a central server to start, but he's going to have to spend an extra click, assuming he's not using a card ability. Both players elect to keep their hands. Dan just ice, install something. Minh thinking over. He's got a good mix of stuff. He's got Dirty Laundry, Sure Gamble, 2 Desperados, Sneak Door to Beta, Count Siphon, and I think Daily Cast there. So he's got a lot to start off with. This is going to be pretty good start for Minh, I think.
Yeah, well set up to get his economy going. He can use the Sure Gamble, then install the Desperado, run a Dirty Laundry run, and still have plenty of money to go into the next turn with.
And depending on the cost of Dan's ice, he could potentially Dirty Laundry R&D, trying to get Dan to res that piece of ice to deny him the money, and then account siphon HQ. But
yeah, so there we go, as predicted. Sure gamble into the Desperado.
Dirty Laundry
and Archives.
Yeah, probably the safer play. I'm getting a little greedy with with my suggested play here.
Well, this is a high pressure game. I mean, if Minh wins this one, he wins all. So I think he's going to play carefully.
Yeah, I mean, the winner of this wins. No more losses for anybody. You have to win this game if you want to be called world champion of Android Netrunner for 2014. As we mentioned, you also get to design a card, which is a fantastic prize. You get your likeness on the card. Move to Dan. He spends his first click drawing a card. Spends his second click. There's an NAPD. He's got the... Looks like he's probably just going to gain money. Yep.
I think that's the thing to do. I think replicating decks really want to get their ice up, to make it difficult to run out in the remote servers.
Most definitely. So back to Minh. Spends his first click. Sneak door. Why not? That archives is open. And he uses it.
Gains credit.
What does he hit?
Pulls the NAPD and
he
steals
hits
it right off the bat. I mean, he's 2 points ahead, but now 4 credits down.
Yeah.
Although compared to Dan's big pile of money there. So.
It is, but right now he's definitely in a good position. Archives is still open. He makes another run, sees a wraparound, and makes a third run. I mean, each run he gets to see a card and
gain a credit.
Tsurugi, and he gains a credit.
So he also knows kind of the ice composition of Dan's hand, right? So he saw a wraparound style Tsurugi, so he knows what breakers to go looking for.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, that was a great play by Minh. I think he gained information, rebuilt his economy a little bit, and maybe he would have gotten lucky and hit another agenda that he potentially could have stolen.
All right. So Sneak Door basically forces the ice over Archives,
and he plays another piece of ice protecting Sundew.
Although the Sundew is pretty well protected, like he has to make a central server run, which means that he automatically gains the 2 credits.
Yep.
He can make a run at it now if he wants to, but I don't think he will. I don't know. I'm sorry. He still has to make a central server run, which he hasn't yet done.
Yeah, he's currently going after HQ. It looks like
testing it.
Dan's considering his money. He's got 9 credits, so he's got a lot, but he probably doesn't have enough to res all of that. Especially with Tsurugi costing 6 and a couple of others. He's clearly showing that he doesn't have just cheap ice. So
Lotus Field.
Lotus Field. It's a card that's being used a lot since it came out recently.
Yeah, and strength cannot be lowered, so even if you've got a Yogg in play with all the data sucker tokens in the world, Lotus Field will always stay at 4 strength. So. And wraparound.
All right, so we know where we put the wraparound, so we can probably guess Tsurugi's on Archives. But he's just down to 2 credits.
Right, which I think means that Minh probably wants to pressure R&D now.
It might be a good play, definitely. I mean, the chances of him having a piece of ice. Yep, there he goes. Ooh, Caprice.
And
immediately spends that credit he got to trash it.
Do not let Caprice.
And he runs again. Mental health clinic. Well, he's going to leave that there. Interesting. Was he able to trash? I forget the trash cost of mental health clinic.
I believe it's 3.
So he would have spent all of his credits on it. Yep, you're right, 3. So I guess, he would have only had 1 credit left.
On the other hand, like mental health clinic, I mean, it does have this beneficial effect for the runner and increases the runner's hand size. Maybe Minh is considering the possibility of having a 6-card hand limit. Yeah, that's not nothing.
Saying, okay, I'll let you get a credit, but I'm gonna keep a larger hand.
So Dan automatically taking his Sundew credits because there's no way Minh can run a remote server without running a central server. Sundew is just an amazing economy card for replicating perfection. I think it was the release of Sundew that really made people start looking at replicating perfection again. And
definitely
more and more tools have come out for it that have made replicating probably the most competitive Jinteki deck out there. Certainly the most common Jinteki deck that we saw here in the World Championship tournament. Goodness, it got really quiet again.
Well, it's the final match.
It's whisper quiet. We don't want them to hear us commentating behind the screen here.
Yeah, we've got a good setup, but as always, we have to be careful because we don't want to give anything away.
Right.
Any little a single word of a card in hand or something that the player's done can give away a lot of information here. He runs, and we've got a quandary.
Just simple run ender. Just keep him out of R&D.
Quandary's not much of a quandary. Just it's pretty simple for what he does. Got a bank job.
But now he has a remote server that he can run, and he can just take all the bank job credits.
And gets a credit from Desperado as well.
I believe that also trashes bank job.
I think so. There you go. And he's got 1 click left to do something. And he's going to run there again and see what it is. It's the mental health clinic.
And now it trashes it.
All right, you spent a click to put it in. I'm going to get rid of it now. See it. Is that a Tsurugi? No.
It's got an Ash, which is another tool in the RP arsenal, just making it hard to access cards.
Both players being very careful with their turns here.
Takes a sneak door run, but does not res the ice.
He's thinking about it, I think.
Oh,
yep,
I guess he does res the ice.
So
another simple run ender. So at this point, unless he's got some tricks, there we go. So special orders.
Probably Corroder. Yep.
So the Corroder, he made a run on a central server. It doesn't have to be a successful run, but he made the run. So now he has to. He will go out and probably
run a Sundew. Yeah. Get rid of that Sundew because now that wraparound is 0 strength.
Yep. There it goes.
Yep. And with only 2 credits on the board, that's really painful for him. I mean, mental health clinic will help a little bit, but it's not protected, which means Min can just come in and trash it again. Plays a Jackson Howard to dig for some things. Gets an Eli, which will help. And he draws again. He's got 2 agendas in hand, which looks like he's going to get rid of both. With Jackson Howard on the board, he can just get rid of him. With the sneak door beta, he doesn't want to leave anything to chance here.
Does have in his hand a hedge fund and a celebrity gifts, though, so he can start making a comeback economically.
Yep. Min, back to Min. So Min's got a little bit of board position now. He's running archives.
Yep.
Sneak. He's just running archives, I think.
Yeah.
He said archives. He did not say sneak door.
Yeah, I think he's just doing that to force up the Jackson Howard off the table.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny. Oftentimes, running archives with a couple face down cards is more than enough to get Jackson off the table, rather than running Jackson himself. Yeah. And when Jackson's protected, in this case, he's not really protected by ice, but he is protected by the replicating perfection ability. So he would have to spend 2 clicks to try and threaten Jackson, but in this way, he can just spend 1 click. And he avoids that personal evolution ability and then spends his 2nd click getting that mental health clinic off the board. But he is out of credits. He spends the remaining few on daily casts.
Well, get some money back in play.
Yep. It's interesting. Both players are low. We know Dan has some money makers shortly. That looked like an inside job drawn by Min for his last click. Ooh, another hedge fund. Celebrity gift hedge fund. Yep.
Yeah, so that is a lot of money. That is 10 credits from celebrity gifts right there.
Yep, and he's not scared showing any of that. If anything, he wants to show off that Tsurugi.
Yeah.
And the hedge funds don't matter. The Ash, it's a little bit, but it's not that big of a deal.
Yeah, so he's just going to go ahead and put the Tsurugi over HQ.
Min just starts digging. He knows he can't put too much pressure on right now, so he decides to just solidify his position a little bit, I think.
That, and I think he has to rebuild his economy, and unfortunately the only economy he's got going right now is daily casts, and that'll take a while to pay out. Yeah,
daily cast is great to play early game, and then as you're putting pressure on, you're getting more credits to keep up the pressure, but definitely when you're low on cash, daily cast is not the economy card you want to be playing.
No.
And it does help over long term, but it doesn't get you right back into the game.
Min is holding his Mimic, though, as well as a Data Sucker. So
2 inside jobs as well.
Yeah, so he's got some tools. I'm sure what he's really looking for is his Yogg or Passport to get past that quandary.
Yeah, that quandary I think is the big problem right now. Lotus Field's a little bit of annoying, but it's not that big of a deal.
I mean, it should be noted that that he only has to make a run on a central server. It doesn't have to be a successful run. But I mean, with Ice's weakest quandary, why not make it successful?
Right. Yeah. If you can get an icebreaker out, even if it just costs 1 or 2 credits, if it's not Yogg, Yogg is great because it's free. But anything that costs a credit or 2, why not do that for the chance of getting in further? Dan just gets a bunch more money. He's solidifying his position to try and open some scoring windows, I think.
Min still much lower on credits, but now it's 5 credits, and 5 credits is a good place to be in terms of cards like Hedge Fund. I'm sorry, Sure Gamble.
Sure Gamble, yep. Yeah, if he draws Sure Gamble, he's in much better position. Yeah, it looks like he's going to draw some more. It's a Passport.
That is a good draw.
Yeah, that'll take care of that quandary. Looks like he's getting ready to play it, too. And he gets to see what that second piece of ice on R&D is. Now with all the money, Dan's probably sure to res it. Yep, there he goes. Spends 1 to get through. And Dan's going to res Tsurugi.
Ooh, that is tough.
That is definitely tough.
Does he end the run, or does he let the run go and do a bunch of net damage?
Yeah, I think he's going to do the net damage. I mean, ending the run at this point, it's 2-0. One card access. I mean, he could hit an agenda, but especially with Dan's deck, he's got lots of agendas that protect themselves, NAPD contracts and Future Perfect. Yep, he chooses to pay 1 and do damage. Inside job. Oh, you get the Mimic.
Yeah, the Mimic is what he wanted.
Yeah, that Mimic needed to be on the table, so Min could get rid of it to take care of that Tsurugi.
Yeah, Mimic would have been the best way through, but unfortunately not.
Still gets to access a card, though, I believe. He's thinking about it, I guess. I don't think he's running any snares, is he? He does choose to access.
Nope.
Oh, no, he doesn't. Sorry.
Did not choose to access. Instead took a run at
and he hits an APD. That's a pretty good hit, especially since Dan showed his hand just a turn or 2 ago and showed he didn't have any agendas.
But it does drop him down to 0 credits again, which
it does.
Dan still has more money, so
he does, but he's down to 5 himself. Before he was sitting at 14 or 15, so it's gonna be interesting to see where this plays out. Still got the Ash, Wall of Thorns. He just drew. It's interesting. So while we have a little lull, while the players are thinking, he's gonna bring back Sundew. There you go. Get some more money, he says.
Well, I mean, Sundew is a great card to have. I mean, even though Min has the crow to get past the wraparound, he doesn't know what that next piece of ice is. And for all he knows, it could be another Tsurugi or similar. And I don't think he wants to take that chance, just running blindly.
Yeah. So they're just making sure that Dan follows timing conventions. Dan has a habit of shortcutting things, which generally is fine, but shortcutting before the ability to actually do what he wants is not what we want to be doing. So,
well, so Min just cleaned out the last of daily cast, so he's got to come up with some other money.
And he spends click run in on the hand with Sneak Door, and then he spends the secondary. Eli, he's got 2 clicks. He could click through. It seems like probably the thing he wants to do. I mean, he's already spent a click to run. Yep, that's what he's doing. Spends 2 clicks and then spends money. And so get through and trash.
Both players once again at very low credits, but Dan has his ice up, and Min unfortunately had his Mimic trashed. So
yeah, but Min is up 4-0. So I mean, the board position isn't in his favor, but he only needs to hit a Future Perfect and win that side game, and he's got the game. He's got 2 NMPDs, which means most of the agendas left are either going to be Future Perfects or Niseis, and Niseis don't cost anything to steal. So having those 2 NAPDs on his side is actually really big, I think.
Yeah, I think the worst case scenario for Dan is seeing Min just roll an NAPD contract right off the top of the deck or out of his hand. Does not want to see a Future Perfect roll up.
No, definitely not. I mean, luckily for Dan, he still does have 4 2-point agendas, so he can, only 3 3-points. We'll see what happens here. He's running on his hand again. Enhanced Login Protocol. That's going to be annoying once Dan plays it. So that's just going to slow Minh down even more. Oh, another Celebrity Gifts. Played the Enhanced Logan Protocol for his last click.
Yeah, that's definitely going to slow Minh down quite a bit.
I think Minh now, I think he wants to kind of build position. I mean, Mediums is a great card, but he still needs a way to deal with that Tsurugi. Data Sucker will certainly help. Got another Passport. That's not very useful. With that Quandary in front of the Tsurugi, that inside job doesn't help much.
I guess he does have the Femme Fatale. He could play the Femme Fatale as his killer. I mean, Tsurugi is very low strength, so it would cost the same to get through it with Femme Fatale as it would to get to do with Mimic. On the other hand, Femme Fatale is so expensive to get into play. I mean, it would just be difficult to do.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, I don't think that's, even if he draws it, that's not necessarily the play. But the good thing is he has a little bit of time. Dan's still sitting at 0 points, and as we can see, he doesn't have any agendas in hand. But it's going to be, I'm kind of curious to see what Minh does.
Dan looks like Dan just installed another Eli on the outside of that remote's server, and then put the Ash in the server. So that's going to be a scoring server.
Yeah, he's obviously set that up to be so.
And he's got plenty of money. He can win the trace there to keep Minh from accessing anything but Ash in that scoring server. So it's a very good position to start scoring.
John Masanori from Minh. I think the big question for Minh here is that Ash or not? He knows that Dan had Ash. Just drew a short gamble, which will definitely help. Jackson, he's going to leave it. Chooses not to spend most of his money to take care of that.
3 credits for Minh is a lot right now.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, every credit matters now. Just drew an NAPD contract off the top. He throws 2 on it. I'm thinking he's trying to bait Minh into thinking it's a future perfect.
I think so.
Question
is, does he run it?
Right. I mean, the chances of it being an agenda pretty darn high. But
I mean, he also saw the Ash, so he knows that even if he makes the run on that server, like it may, he may just end up being out traced by the Ash.
Yep. Yeah, and with 10 credits, Dan will have no problem doing that. He's going to get some money to start off.
Sure gambles.
At this point, I don't think he's going to go after that remote server because he'd have to hit a central, then go after the remote for his last 2 clicks, and then
he'd also have to hit. He'd have to spend 2 clicks because of the enhanced login protocol.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Which it looks like he forgot is he just motioned to HQ.
Yeah, that's gonna. Well, I mean, unless he's taking a sneak door, and sneak door is exempt from the enhanced login protocol.
That's true.
Limitation. So that's probably it. It's probably just a.
Yep. Yeah, he just paid, didn't give a chance to res and whatnot. So another Jackson.
Now, Minh is not playing any currents of his own, so the only way to get rid of that enhanced login protocol is to just steal an agenda. And
there's the NAPD.
When you're being so terribly shut out.
Ooh, Sundew in that server. That's going to be a lot harder to deal with than all of the previous ones.
Yeah, which means I think that Dan's economy is safe for a good long time until he's ready to score.
Yeah, Dan seems to have the upper hand here. Minh's ahead on points, but he's got to get lucky and hit a future perfect, I think, here to take the game. Luckily, Dan doesn't have any agendas in hand, which means Minh's got a little bit of time. But with that server, I mean, it's not impenetrable, I guess. He has the Crowder out, and the Eli's can always be clicked through. But with the enhanced login protocol, it's going to be very costly to make any run on that.
I think he's just taking runs at HQ via sneak door beta for the draws for John Masanori and the off chance of
from Desperado. Yeah, and off chance of hitting something. This time he chooses to after the 3rd time he chooses to hit trash Jackson Howard.
There's only one. It's sneak door.
He's got 3 clicks left. What is he going to do with them?
3 clicks for credits. He's got legwork, but with only 1 card in hand, that's not worth playing on Dan right now. He's reading login protocol to make sure what it does.
It only affects the regular.
Remember, Minh is the Belgium national champion, so English is not his first language. And he knows the cards fairly well, but Enhanced Login Protocol just came out, I believe, in the most recent data pack for most people out there. We did debut the newest one this weekend, but I believe it was in the one prior to that. So if there's a new card he might not be completely familiar with, he might not remember exactly how it works, and so he just needs to confirm.
One thing too that we've noticed is that the international metas tend to be a little different from the American metas. I mean, the international champions who made their way to the finals playing decks different from pretty much everybody else. And that's very interesting. I mean, it might just be that that Enhanced Login Protocol is not a card that comes up in Belgium.
Quite possible, yeah. And that's been kind of the fun of the World Championships, is seeing all these other decks from other metas and stuff. Oftentimes you just kind of assume the internet has created an environment where everybody knows the decks that are being played, and they just play certain decks, but that not everyone goes on the internet to look for decks, and so they still have to adapt to their own metagame.
Or even if they do, they might not just go to the English language sites.
That's true, yeah. Many countries have their own communities online. So something else, something I just noticed, all 3 NAPD contracts are accounted for, which means Minh can count on either hitting Future Perfects, which he'd have to play the side game for, or Niseis, which would be a free steal. Granted, one Nisei would not win him the game. But this is, of course, we know the deck, so we know about this. He obviously has to feel safe knowing that there's no more NAPDs. He knows that for sure. But I guess he can't really count on what else he's going to hit.
Yeah, but I think he really wants to get into R&D at this point.
Yeah.
Dan is a triple icing HQ in the face of a sneak door. Oh, I guess maybe he's preparing for an account siphon.
Yeah, it might be. With the Lotus Field, I'm trying to remember what that second piece of ice was. I do feel like it wasn't that useful for him, but I don't think account siphon is really what he needs to fear right now.
Still, Minh counting up his credits just to see if it's viable.
I mean, at this point with the fairy on the table, he could potentially play medium and go at R&D.
Yeah, but he'd only get one card.
You'd only get one card, but it would force Dan to potentially end the run rather than do the net damage. Or maybe he's willing to sacrifice his hand for a second run. I think he's just weighing all the options. Yep, still thinking about it. Again, these are very tense matches. I mean, the players know a single mistake can cost them the game. Oh, he trashed the sneak door for the medium. That's a very interesting play. I thought he might play the medium, but sneak door was a great way into hand. But I guess it isn't super useful now because Dan's only has one card in hand. He hasn't shown any inclination to keep drawing in, and whenever he draws an agenda, he'll probably just put it in that server. So, interesting play, but I guess not entirely unexpected once thought about. You saw the economy card on Dan's hand. Dan plays his last piece of ice in front of R&D and then gets some more money.
Goes to an empty hand.
So Dan's basically just counting on buying himself time to do all this. Just draw an agenda, play it, score it, draw another agenda, play it, score it.
10? Yeah, 10 plus 4 minus 2 plus 1. 32.
Just confirming with the judge. Again, Dan likes to shortcut things, so the judge just wanted to make sure that the math added up. It's on to Minh's turn. Looks like he's going to play daily casts. Let's try and trickle in some more economy.
He's got the medium in play. I mean, if he can actually start getting through into R&D, that could really start paying off for him.
He still has the inside job, so that outer piece of ice isn't necessarily effective
Yeah,
for one run.
But Dan can just end the run with Tsurugi, so Min has to find some answer to it.
He does, and looks like he's drawn for it. Drew a Mr. Lee. Does he have a second Mimic? It doesn't look like it. What would be his other answer? Femme Fatale, probably.
Yeah.
Femme
Boy,
Fatale.
that is a tough place to be in, where Femme Fatale is your only other killer.
Yeah, but as you stated earlier, it's not very expensive to get through a Tsurugi with a Femme Fatale.
Right.
So Nisi was drawn and immediately installed.
Yep.
As predicted, Dan's not willing to hold on to anything, even with the sneak door off the table.
Oh my God, you're right.
He's taking no chances. What's going on? He's just backed up.
Yeah, it looks like he did something that judge let him know that he did something wrong. I heard him say, "You're right." Not quite sure what. So we're backing up.
It's awkward. I'll go ahead. It's awkward. Credit, go ahead.
So got one click and he spends it on a credit. Not quite sure what happened there. Oh, I think he spent 2 clicks drawing to get up to 3 cards, and then only had 1 click left. And I think he tried to install and advance. I'm not quite sure. Now on to Min, who now can probably suspect Dan has an agenda in hand, but he doesn't have an easy way into HQ now.
Yeah, unfortunately not. He has the legwork to take it if he can get into HQ. Problem is whether or not he can actually get past that ice. I mean, he has no killer, so a sentry like Neural Katana or Kamainu could clean out his hand.
And with all that money on Dan's side, he's sure to res both of those pieces of ice.
Especially if the legwork comes out.
Yeah.
Because Dan really wants to score that Nisei, so as to be able to stop any runs.
Right. That would be a huge ability to have. Min's spending his whole turn.
There goes the legwork.
Taking credits and then legwork, it looks like.
Yeah.
There's Komainu.
Which is just going to
Eat his hand.
Yep.
I think he's
Can't
okay with
do
that.
anything about that.
I think he kind of accepted that when he made this run. Or hopefully he thought of that. Some good cards there, but if it gets him to an agenda, it's not.
Yeah, nope, there it is.
Oh, wow. And we have a world champion for 2014. Dan Dargenio, your 2014 Android Netrunner world champion.
Well, congratulations, Dan, and congratulations to Min as well to making the final table.
Yeah, well fought to Min. I mean, Belgian national champion gets all the way through to the finals, wins the first game to have a final game with Dan, potentially winning that as well and becoming world champion. But it just Dan's deck just had a little bit too much taxing ice, and Min went for it. He felt like he could potentially win the game there. I mean, if he had gotten through, he would have definitely gotten whatever agenda that was.
I think losing the Mimic was the game ender there.
Most
just because,
definitely.
yeah, I mean, we saw it. I mean, he lost his entire hand to Komainu, then he took the net damage that killed him from Tsurugi.
So welcome back. I'm Brendan Weiscott.
I'm Jaffer Batiga.
And you have been watching the Android Netrunner 2014 World Championships. We have a winner. We will cut to him shortly. We will be interviewing him and congratulating him. But yeah, as you said, that Mimic, I think losing that super early, that would have helped him get through any of that ice that continually he had to deal with, the Tsurugis and the Komainus and such.
It's unfortunate he had no redundancy as far as killer goes, except for the Femme Fatale, which I think he was digging for at the end. But Femme Fatale is a hard solution to Tsurugi and other such ice. If he had perhaps had a clone chip or something to bring it back.
Yeah,
into play,
I mean, of course, as a shaper, you would bring up clone chip.
I would say clone chip. I mean, he was pretty squeezed. He was pretty squeezed for influence there, so he made some tough decisions.
Yeah, I mean, he was running a fairly standard Andromeda deck. You know, he's splashing for a lot of Anarch cards,
right.
the Data Suckers and the Corroders and the Mimics and whatnot. And I mean, it really came down to that one card. It came down to the Mimic, I think.
I think so.
You know, he put on great pressure. He got 2 NAPDs early, and paid for them, which was great.
I think he played through as well as he possibly could without it, but it was a tough place to go. And he had a long lead for a long time, just at the end there. But a surprising flat line win there. I think that Dan was in a good position to score, but I guess Minh was just leading into it. I think he felt that he kind of had to go big or go home. Win now or lose later. You know.
Yeah, I definitely think Minh felt the pressure. I think he felt the win, like the lead slipping away, and you know he knew Dan had an agenda. Dan made that mistake and kind of gave it away. And so you know if it's a future perfect, he could win the side game and win. And if it's a Nisei, he could get up to 6 points and be in a very commanding lead.
And also prevent a Nisei token from hitting the table.
Yeah, I mean, that's the other big thing. If it were Nisei, having that scored would just make it even harder to win, you know, with that and enhanced login protocol and everything else that was there.
Yeah, so
congratulations to Dan Dargenio. What a great final, Jaffer.
No, it was a fantastic final. It played to the
games.
Second match. We love to see those kind of matches. The tension is there, you know, and all the way through, it was hard fought, you know. Like,
we had a triple scourge in one game. We had Minh wear down Dan in the first final match.
Yeah, and these are players that have fought their way through a huge field. I mean, I don't know if anybody mentioned up at the top, but 236,
237.
Somewhere in there.
Yeah.
A very large number of players to play through. Certainly the biggest tournament we've ever hosted here at the Game Center.
Biggest tournament I think we've hosted ever as FFG anyway.
Yeah, I mean, so we are pleased as punch to be able to present like a high-level competitive play like that. Just a lot of players coming out from all over the country to see what's out there, to test their decks against the best of the best.
Yeah, we had I believe 5, 6 national champions for Android Netrunner.
Oh yes,
something like that.
No, it's thanks to our international partners for sending us their national champions, and we're just so impressed to see so many of them hit the finals there.
And organized play continues to grow. I mean, this year we had I want to say somewhere between 7 and 10 national championships around the world, and I'm sure we'll continue to have more. And
I hope we do. I definitely hope we do. You know, I would love to see more national champions from more of our international partners come out. We'd love to meet them. We'd love to see their new ideas, to inject some lifeblood into our game.
Yeah, I mean, as you said, the metas are very different everywhere, and you know, having people cross streams, so to speak, you know, between different metagames, it really brings new life into a metagame, and it brings new decks, of course, and new cards.
Yeah, it's not just about the competition; it's also about the sharing of ideas here.
Yeah.
Well, it sounds like they're getting warmed up for the photography there to get some.
We'll let you know as soon as we find out when we're going to cut to the interview. But I do know we will be presenting him with his trophy and his playmat. The card, as we talked about, that'll be a little bit of a longer process, of course.
But he's got quite a long time to think about it. Quite some time to think about what changes would he make to the game if he could.
Yes, and which side does he want to be on? Does he want to do a corp card? Does he want to do a runner card?
Oh, boy, man, I don't know what I would choose. I guess if I could choose anything, I think I would choose an ID, but I don't know if they get that option.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure myself. It kind of would make sense if it were any other card, but I'm not quite sure. All right, we're ready for interviews. We will be back shortly, but for now, enjoy the interviews with Minh and Dan.
Congratulations on your runner-up, and talk a little bit about your decks, probably. Specifically, your runner deck. I think that took everybody by surprise a little bit. Hey guys, this is Lucas Litzinger. I'm here with our world champion runner-up, Minh from Belgium. You had a really good tournament, and I think your personal evolution deck was really kind of the surprise of the tournament. You were flatlining a lot of players with it. Just tell us a little bit about that deck.
It's a deck I saw from Axel, the German champion, and it was initially played by Chris Henkins, I think, from the regional, and I liked it a lot, and I think it was very good. There was a lot of cards against it in Europe, so I kind of wasn't sure to play it here, but nobody was really prepared for it here, so it was quite successful.
Right, and then you ended up playing 2 games against Dan. That first game, you were 1 credit away from stealing the NAPD. Super close, almost could have gone either way. what kind of were your thoughts about that matchup now that you had to play that one twice with your Andromeda against Replicating Perfection? Do you think Andromeda is a good matchup against Replicating Perfection? Anything you do differently?
I think it's quite a tough matchup, maybe 45-55 for RP. I think I could have won because I had one click left, but mistakes happen after, so...
That's true, you could have spent that one click to gain the credit and then...
But I had the pressure of the time, so I miscounted. This happens, and...
Still though, like, impressive run all the way to the finals. You did a fantastic job. Want to shout out to anybody back home?
I would like to thank my playgroup for testing and my girlfriend as well for support. And
all right, well, hopefully we'll see you back next year. Congratulations on an impressive performance. Minh Tran, everybody.
Work and in Criminal R&D interface. And that's just great news for Replicating Perfection in general, because Parasite is one of the only things that can really undevelop your board after you start getting your taxiing ice out. So as long as you can weather the early storm, which isn't too difficult considering the difficulty of stealing your agendas, RP is a great choice in this metagame. I thought I was right. The Corp deck was undefeated on the day and yesterday.
Right, yeah, Corps are definitely strong, and they were able to punch through there for the win in that final game after losing the first one to that Personal Evolution deck. Tell us a little bit about what's going through your mind after that first game.
Well, I played a lot of Personal Evolution between regionals and now because Chris Hinkies was a major developer of the deck. He won a regionals also, and it looks fun as hell, so I picked it up. And it's a very powerful deck. It's taking a long time for people to take it seriously, but PE is definitely, I think, one of the top 3 decks next to RP and NEH. So, I mean, I know that it's going to be a difficult game playing against a good player with PE. I played against Hinkies and Swiss, and I beat him. But usually it's a matter... I mean, one big difference was that Minh had a lot of actually stopping ice, those code gates. And, usually you don't want to play tutors against PE because they're slow, click-wise, and they pull cards out of your deck where you need your cards to actually take the damage. So I was waiting for a long time to actually just see the Yogg so I could break that remote Enigma. It never came up. Somehow I lost my Fem and my Mimic. That was really bad. I mean, I drew the Mimic first, and I was like, oh, wait for Fem, but I didn't have the credits, but I had to make a run, and I lost her.
Yeah, you went down all the way to the bottom of your deck in that game, just net damage.
I knew after I hit 2 snares, and there were 3 snares and 2 Psychic Field, that it was not looking good. I thought that the only way I was going to win was on time, because there just wasn't enough life left in me. But, I mean, I wasn't upset because I thought that my Corp versus Runner matchup was quite good. I think RP is definitely the counter to Andy.
All right, well, as part of the prize, and here we have your trophy here for winning Worlds. Congratulations for that. And we also have an exclusive playmat. So there's only one of these in the world, and it is Dan's now. Also, you'll be able to get to design a card, so start thinking about that. I'm sure we're all looking forward to see what you got coming down the pipeline. Any ideas?
All I got is jokes. Luke.
All right, well, we'll see what we can work with that. Congratulations on an impressive performance here. Enjoy the win, and well done.